Hello, this is Stan Bloomfield. It's Black Friday. I'm sitting here in St. Louis next to the Planet Fitness. They let us park semis, and the other day, a couple days ago, I watched a video about digital currency and how it's going to how the they are going to tell us on the whole globe that if we take a digital ID, they are going to cancel all our debt and everyone gets a fresh start, and it's going to lower all the prices back to the way it was in the 1800s. And all of that, except the prices going down, sounds real. I mean, it sounds like that could be a large part of what they're doing with the digital ID. The thing that I don't understand is Great Britain. The people are popping a gasket over the digital ID, and nobody's talking about it being a part of the cashless society and the mark of the beast in Revelation chapter 13. And okay, I've got me I wrote down some notes, and let's just go ahead and I want to talk about the image of the beast and the actual mark of the beast. And what I really want is people that can, study the Bible with me and not just say, well, the RFID chip, you're full of, that's not the mark of the beast. All of that stuff. So I'm gonna present this. Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And he had power, he being the beast, the second beast of Revelation 13. And the second beast had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Okay, I want to talk about that Greek word life and he. Okay, and then Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. There's three different things there. And I've always thought that the mark of the beast is what will condemn people for eternity. Okay, and the number of his name and the name of the beast. Okay, the Greek the Hebrew word is Shem, and that's name, and my name is Stan, but the Hebrew word name, Shem, it means character, nature, authority, stuff like that. And and the Greek word is the same. And so the name of Jesus, you do something in the name of Jesus, you have to have his nature on you to use the name and the spirit realm honor it. In one of the Gospels, Jesus said, "Occupy till I return," and that Greek word "occupy," with the Strong's Concordance, it means it's about the marketplace. Be out there and doing it all until I return. it's quite clear we can't take the mark of the beast. Okay, the mark of the beast is Kahi Kasi Stigma, and his number is in Revelation 13:18, and it is the number of man, and his number is, it's not 666 in the original Greek. That would be hex, hexaton, hexaconta, hex, something like that. 666. What's in the Greek is Kahi Kasi Stigma, and it's the 14th letter, the 22nd letter, and a letter that was obsolete in John the Apostle's day, that fell between the 5th and 6th Greek letter, which was epsilon and zeta. It's stigma. A guy named Michael Rood on the internet, he put out a video about Kahi Kasi Sigma, and he didn't have what was needed to explain why he's saying the Strong's Concordance is wrong without explaining why he said it's sigma. That's another letter of the Greek alphabet that's totally different than Kahi Kasi Stigma. So the mark has something to do with the 14th letter, the 22nd letter, and the obsolete letter in John's day that fell between epsilon and zeta, and it's stigma. And according to the Strong's Concordance, that Greek word stigma means to puncture and poke, and it has a sense of ownership. Now, I've always thought that the number of his name and the name of the beast, so that the number of his authority, the number of his nature, and the nature and authority of the beast. I've always thought that the credit card, the debit card, was one of those two. And now I'm thinking that it's the nature and authority of the beast that is the credit card, the debit card, because it's the global banking system and all that kind of stuff. Now they're trying to tell us we've got to have, we're all going to have a digital ID by 2027, 2028, is when Europe is rolling it out. And so I am now thinking the number of his nature and authority. If they're gonna, and they've probably already given us our digital ID. They just haven't showed it to us and told us how we're going to use it. And so the number of his name, I'm thinking that's the digital ID. And so the nature, the name of the beast, the nature and authority of the beast, and the number of his name, the number of his nature and authority, in Revelation 13:18, John said, and his number is 666. Well, he said it's Kahi Kasi Stigma. And I have come up with a way to do the math that it does come out to 666. And so I'm thinking the digital ID is going to be connected to the phone. And so the nature and authority of the beast and his number, it has to do with buying and selling without cash, because no man can buy or sell without, and it's going to reach a point where the debit card, having the debit card and credit card, which we all have, and having a digital ID, which we all have, the global system, the global elites, they're not going to be satisfied with that, and they're going to want our allegiance by having us put, by having the RFID chip put in our right hand. And when you look this up, the right hand, it's not everybody is going to have it put in their literal right hand. it in the Greek with the Strong's Concordance, it's the hand of power. I'm right-handed, so they'll want me to put it in my right hand. A person that's left-handed, his hand of power, his right hand is his left hand. And as far as the in the forehead, who's gonna say put it in my forehead so I have a little grain of sand popping out of my forehead? The Greek word for forehead talks about the eyes and the countenance, and I think it's going to be right there at the bridge between the eyes, at the bridge of the nose. So when it comes time to get the whole world to accept the mark of the beast, which is punctured or poked, and it's a sign of ownership like a wedding ring, that's when we will no longer be able to occupy in the marketplace till Jesus returns. Satan and the beast. Okay, now I said I want to talk about and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. That Greek word there is Zoe, and it means intellect, it means a breath, it means a breeze. It means all of that. And then when you look up Zoe, it'll say comes from this word, and then that word comes from this word, and it gives you all the words that are related to Zoe. And then you reach a word in the Strong's Concordance where it says, compare this word to Zoe. And it literally says a reduction of heat. Now that isn't a part of the Greek word Zoe, but the description of the image of the beast, it can speak and cause, it can reason, and it can cause everyone that doesn't take the mark to be killed, to have our heads cut off. And so every desktop computer and all servers, they have fans, like the video cards have a fan on them to keep that CPU on the video card cool. The desktops, they have fans on the motherboard CPU to keep the motherboard cool. There's fans in the power supply of our computer desktops, and that's that hum we're constantly hearing while the computer's running. In the servers, they have fans keeping the motherboard and stuff cool also. And in the server room, it's climate controlled with air conditioning and stuff to keep the humidity down or at the proper level and to keep the servers cool. There's a breeze going through all these computers. And the image of the beast that can speak and reason, some say it's a robot. It's artificial intelligence. And so what's going on now is President Trump, he wants digital ID, which means we'll get rid of cash. He wants artificial intelligence. He wants the United States to be on top of that. And I'm looking at this going, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, Baptist and Pentecostal pastors were all over this stuff. And now I can't find anybody that's literally on top of this telling us don't take the RFID chip. Now, I said I want to talk about there's another key part to that. The Kahi Kasi stigma and hex, hexaton, hexaconta, hex, 666, and Kahi Kasi stigma, the 14th, 22nd, and the letter that fell between the 5th and 6th Greek letter. The the pastors can literally stand up and say 666 is not in the original Greek text. And they're not lying. They could stand up and say, all right, there's this guy out there. He proved that the RFID chip is 666. And the barcodes are 660. They got 666 on the ends and in the middle. The barcode on every product we buy. But that's not in the original Greek text. We don't know for sure what kahi, kasi, stigma means. It's not hex, hexacon, hexacanta, hex. Now, I'm challenging all of you to look this stuff up in the Strongs, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And don't let people like Michael Rood tell you it's not stigma, it's sigma. There's a huge, huge difference between sigma and stigma. And, okay, now, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Satan, the dragon, and in Revelation 20, verse 2 or so, verse 12, it says, and Satan, Satan and the dragon, that old serpent, that serpent of old. That's talking about in the Garden of Eden. And when you go back and look at the beast, in Revelation 13, the first beast, it says, and he had the head of a leopard. That, when you look the word leopard up in the Greek, in the Strongs, it says it's a female panther. One of the head of the beast, one of the heads, is feminine. And then you go to the Garden of Eden when it says, and all of the beasts, the serpent was more subtle than all the beasts of the field. Look up the Hebrew word beast in the Strongs, and it'll say, if it's a single animal, it's feminine. There was only one serpent dealing with Eve, and it was Satan in the serpent, and it was feminine. Now, 96, there's too much to give out when it comes to this stuff this way. But the thing that I'm getting at is every time it says he about Satan. Now, Jesus said in the Gospels to the scribes and Pharisees, I think it was, he said, ye are of your father the devil. So Satan is clearly male, okay? But he's female. His nature is transgender. And you just look it up. Look up the leopard in Revelation chapter 13, the first beast. Look it up in the Strongs, and then look up the beast, the word beast in the Hebrew in Genesis chapter 3. And the beast and the serpent was more subtle than all the beasts. Look that word beast up. It's feminine. If it's more than one, like a pack of wolves, that's masculine. Now, if you Google K through 9 school teachers, how many are females? It's 96% of K through 6 school teachers are females. Who's teaching the children that they're not the sex they were born? 96% of the 5-year-old school teachers, they're females. Telling Johnny he's not a boy and telling Susie she's not a girl. All of this stuff is straight out of the pit of hell and the surface of the deep. It's feminine. Look it up. Look up how darkness was upon the face of the deep. Look up all them Hebrew words in the Strongs, and the sewage was the waters. It was destruction, and it's feminine. So the whole system with this transgender move, we got to start, looking at Satan and this beast system that we are all a part of, whether people think they're not or not, they are or not. The whole system is already in place, and the final thing is going to be to take a RFID chip in your hand to power, your right hand, or between your eyes or your forehead, and that's going to be swearing allegiance to the global government. And oh boy. All right, now the people, let's see, Satan and the beast. Okay, the people who absolutely hate and despise the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. That book has been out for over 100 years, and all of these people that demand you not use the Strong's Concordance because it's bad, they can't prove it. That's the first thing you pay attention to. And the next thing is, you gotta get an older computer, go buy a brand new one, and install Ubuntu on it. Wipe Microsoft and Mac, wipe that garbage off, and install Ubuntu 24 on it, and then install Xiphos. It's in the Ubuntu Software Center, the Application Center. It's capital XIPHOS. That is the ultimate Bible software library. It's what eSword and Logos was based on. And then Logos turned around and is selling it $1,000 for the whole package. It's all free in the Ubuntu Application Center, and you just download it, and it's tricky. But you can have. I've got 95 Bible translations, different translations. I trust the King James Version and the Strong's Concordance. And the Strong's Concordance is linked to the Polyglot. It's linked to multiple translations in Xiphos. And I've given you enough information to show that it's here. And the people that are saying, well, we're not going to be here because the rapture is going to happen. Now, what the pre-trib rapture people, what they're really saying is the post-trib rapture people and the mid-trib rapture people, what the pre-trib and maybe even the mid-trib people are saying is the post-trib people, believers, are denying Jesus is going to return. The post-trib Bible believers are saying Jesus is going to return. It's just we are going to have to stand up and maybe lose our lives by defending his name by not taking the RFID chip. Now, the pre-trib and the mid-trib rapture types, they're saying, no, we're going to be raptured out. We don't have to worry about this. Well, I'll tell you right now, the days here, when they're talking about a digital ID, and you can't go into a store without it, and that digital ID is going to tell whether you've had your COVID vaccination. The common cold. Have you been vaccinated against the common cold? And that's going to be part of your digital ID. And when you show your QR code or whatever on your phone, and then the store scans your all your food and then scans your QR code or whatever symbol they're going to have, that's going to show you're safe to be in the store buying and selling. And when the system says, okay, we can't let these thumpers, these Bible thumpers, continued to buy food. And so now it's time to force all of them to take an RFID chip in their right hand or in their forehead. And right there, when you literally come up with reasons that it's the rapture hasn't happened, so you're not taking the mark of the beast. When you come up with justification to put that RFID chip in your body so you can buy toilet paper. No man can buy or sell save he that has the mark. You know, at the point you're confronted with, take this RFID chip and the rapture hasn't happened, you take that chip, you're gone. You're done for eternity. You're lost, and that's the end of it. It's all in the Strong's Concordance. The Strong's Concordance is amazing with the King James Version of the Bible. And I really wished I had people that I knew who could tell me why there's 14 different Hebrew texts, original texts, and they're slightly different, and why there's 20 Greek original Greek texts. And when you look at the polyglot Greek text compared to the King James Version, and then there's the Alexandrian text and the Byzantine text, when you start looking at them, the King James Version is based on the Byzantine text. And so I'm not entirely sure that I'm using the oldest original Greek and Hebrew texts. And all these people like Michael Rood changing stigma without telling why the Strong's is wrong for using Kahikasi stigma instead of Kahikasi sigma. He may have the right, the right Greek and Hebrew original texts, but he's not even thinking in these terms. So, basically, when the day comes and they tell all the pre-trib rapture types, take this RFID chip in your body. You've already got your digital ID and you've got your debit card. You can't go in the stores anymore and buy and sell without an RFID chip in your hand or forehead. At that point, the pre-trib rapture was wrong. And if the post-trib rapture people are wrong about when the rapture happens, and it happens pre-trib, they're going to go with the pre-trib rapture too. It's just, all right, there's a Sarge. Junior's over here. He's laying in the passenger seat of the semi. And so there it is. It's 28 minutes. I don't know how people can, how to shorten this down into, a 10, 15 minute video. But anyhow, hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And we really are at the end of the church age. We are here, and it's time for believers to get a Strong's Concordance and a King James Bible and put together a computer system with Ubuntu and Xiphos, the Bible library, and then just start studying. If you get to this point, contact me on Facebook. My Facebook icon is Mr. Spock, doing the